Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking, and I want to apologize for the recent turbulence. I recognize it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, and yet I want to assure you that there are clear skies ahead, and we're going to bring this dragon in for a safe landing. And yes, I still want to ask that you keep your seatbelts fastened and your tray tables in the upright position for just a while longer, just to be cautious. Uh, yes, it's so nice to be with you. I want to thank all of you for following me, and I just want to acknowledge that we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm really grateful to y'all. I'm really so grateful to have you guys out there watching these videos because it gives me a reason to make them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel really excited about getting to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to say more about it. There's going to be some games, polls, prizes. Yes, definitely at least one prize as we get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and then you'll get notified when I got a new video, and you don't want to miss them because there's a lot happening rapidly here on Earth at this time. And so, yes, thanks again, everybody. Yeah, here we are. It's going into March, second to last day of February when I record this. And wow, it's been pretty intense, I have to say. And yet I feel like I've grown and learned so much. I hope you have as well, because I think one of the lessons, if you will, of 2020 is gratitude. Yeah, being able to focus on the good stuff, focus on the positive while not denying the negative, but opening to new positive timelines that wouldn't be possible without all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And so, what are we going to talk about today? I want to talk about the theme for 2021. I like to choose a theme as an astrologer to focus on. And last year, it was this theme of becoming a dragon rider. I saw these really intense energies that the planets aligned indicated. And I thought, as I felt into it, wow, this is going to be intense. And we're going to have to ride it out. And I think we've ridden it out. I mean, there's a lot of hope, I feel, right now. And so, yeah, I know we're already 2 months into 2021 before I present the theme of 2021, but I'm a turtle. I like turtles a lot, and I move slowly. Sometimes I move super fast, but sometimes it's slow for me to kind of tune into what's going on. I want to know what's going on from my own perspective before I try to convey it to y'all. And so that's what I've been trying to do. Feel in to what's happening and what's the greater meaning of it all, while also recognizing some amazing astronomical events, astrological alignments. I hope you saw the last video where we talked about the dawning of the new age, and that could be the theme for 2021. It's one of them. Dawning of a new age, letting a new age dawn in your life. If you look at the video, you'll see I was talking about the 6 planets that all got together in the sky in the same sign of Aquarius. And that's really rare. The last time that happened, 6 planets in a conjunction within 15 degrees like it was all the way back in 1962. And so that's really rare to just have 6 planets together. And I think I called it the dawning of the new age super portal, or really it's a mega portal? Well, truthfully, it's a hyper portal. I feel a super portal is 4 or more planets. 5 or more planets in a conjunction is a mega portal, and 6 is a hyper portal. So I guess we're in a hyper portal, to be totally clear. But, what am I saying? Yes, we've had this recent 6-planet conjunction in Aquarius. And when you put 6 planets all together in the sky, that's 6 out of the 10 planets that I work with. And you combine them all in their various relationships, like the sun with the moon, and you get Venus with Saturn, and Jupiter with Saturn, and Jupiter with Pluto, and Saturn with Pluto, and altogether 22 cycles of time have just recently completed their cycle, and began a new cycle. And so just on this planetary scale, I want to encourage you all to just kind of feel into and tune into, how have things been ending for you? What are you letting go of? What do you really need to shut the door on so you can pivot if necessary and move forward onto these unexpected new timelines? What does it mean to be ending an age of your life, ending an era of your life, or ending an era on the planetary scale, the historical scale? And so we might as well fully participate in that and do our part in having an age and moving into the new age. Come join the New Agers and let it be a new day dawning in your life. That's what I'm encouraging generally. And so, yes, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, portal, hyperportal, or the other theme that I want to work with in this video and in future videos is the idea of 2021 being the year of the Philosopher's Stone. Acquiring it for yourself, procuring it for your movement ahead. I think that's what it's about. I think this is the year that you alchemize your Philosopher's Stone. Perhaps you've been involved in a very long period of alchemy, perhaps many lifetimes of alchemy, once in 1,000-year opportunity for very late stage alchemical transformation to fully transpire. I think that's what we're talking about. A very rare opportunity on a soul level to crystallize and concretize, make real a new kind of clarity. A new kind of clarity in terms of who you are and who your authentic, integrated self is. What does your integrated, authentic self feel like? I think that's the essence of the Philosopher's Stone. It's about integrating larger parts of yourself and crystallizing this kind of authenticity that you've earned. You've earned it over many, many eons and ages long ago. But here you are at this moment in history. Here we are at this moment in history. And it's time to really slow down as much as possible. Remember, slowing down, being a turtle. I think that's one of the things that I learned throughout 2020 and definitely still now. It's like we need to slow down to the degree that we can to really integrate what's just happened. In other words, to take the time to learn from this last year, to feel into it, to kind of feel into your authentic feelings about what's been happening in the world over this last year, what's been happening in your local field over this last year. It's time now that things are kind of opening up. There's more hopefulness in the world at this point, certainly than there was at this point a year ago. And so I do think it's the kind of moment where there is an opportunity for very rare integration of key learnings, key soul lessons that you have mastered are coming together into this philosopher's stone of crystallized awareness. Let me just pause for a moment and clarify what I'm talking about. There have been several Pluto alignments with other outer planets that have been happening over this last 12 years. Uranus square Pluto, and more recently Saturn conjunct Pluto, the last couple years especially, 2019, 2020. And then this last year, along with Pluto Saturn, there was also Pluto Jupiter, this profound triple conjunction that dominated the whole last year right up to now. I mean, we're really kind of at the end of what astrologers would see as an operative situation. At least my own approach to astrology. I feel that this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto just completely dominated all of 2020 and into the first 2 months of 2021. This is the period where Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, all three, are within 15 degrees of each other or so. And then also, recently, a kind of final pass of all the inner planets going across Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter. The whole alignment began a year ago when the Sun and the rest of the inner planets went across the conjunction at the beginning, the triple conjunction at the beginning of it. And here we are, and all of the inner planets have gone across it again, especially the Sun and Mercury and Venus, and the Moon. And so we've had these activations of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto by the Sun and Mercury and Venus and the Moon each month, last month, this month. And so it's just been this kind of sequence of activation of this huge dragon rider energy, the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto triple conjunction of last year. And it all lined up really dramatically a couple of weeks ago when you had all four of those inner planets with Jupiter and Saturn. I talked about that in my last video, but that's really dramatic. And so that's why I felt like the combination of this huge energy and collective experience of the pandemic over the last year and how just decisive it has been in, kind of a scarring of time, a kind of deep division line in time, and just like a decisive sense of Saturn, which sets boundaries and lines and borders, and its power to divide each year and each decade and each century. That sense of divisions of time is what Saturn does. But with Pluto, it's at an extreme level of intensity and power. And so it seems to be that Saturn-Pluto moments when Saturn and Pluto are in a particularly dramatic alignment, whether that's their conjunction every 35 years or other points in the cycle, or when other outer planets come on to the Saturn-Pluto combination, as Jupiter did over this last year. Um, these are the moments in history often where, yes, there's this very intense sense of a decisive line in history where you just think back to before that time and after that time. The last one in my life was 9/11. That was the Saturn Pluto opposition. And I can very easily think about my life pre 9/11 and post 9/11. And of course, we see it on the global historical level as well. The first, the World War I, World War II, those were major activation moments of the Saturn-Pluto cycle. And here we are with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of the last 2 years, but the last year with Jupiter. Jupiter makes things bigger. It expands things. Think about Jupiter's massive size, the largest planet in our solar system, nearly a sun in scale. And you get how whenever Jupiter comes into relationship with another planet or with a human being, its power is to expand things to a larger scale, often in a way that's helpful because you can see things better when things are bigger in your line of sight. You know what I'm saying? And so, yes, Jupiter took it to an even bigger level over the course of last year, took this quality of the Saturn-Pluto cycle to make these deep divisions in time. It took it to a larger scale, and this is where I'm talking about, the end of an age, an end of 1,000-year scale of time. I think that's what we're talking about, or the 2012 scale is 2,000 years. It's just like that really big scale of time. And so I think on a soul level, we're attracted to these moments in history, like to incarnate. So we're, alive during one of these alignments. Of course, I'm definitely, my cosmology includes reincarnation and being able to have past lives and future lives. And also, I very much believe in parallel selves and parallel universes. And so we also have those lives as well. That's my belief. And so my sense is that on a soul level, there's something useful about having many different experiences of having human bodies at different moments in history in different settings. It just seems to be a very valuable thing to be able to have that experience. So why would we be drawn on a soul level to experience a moment in history like this? Well, I think it's clear to me that it's because only certain kinds of lessons and only certain kinds of skills can be developed during times like these, in moments of history like these. There's a certain kind of power and intensity. There's a certain kind of extreme energy, and we're going to talk about that, how 2021 is about coming back from extremes. There's a certain kind of alchemical process that happens during extreme times like this. It's the times when the alchemical vessel really gets cooking. You know what I'm saying? That there's just the right amount of heat, like a really extreme amount of heat applied to your alchemical vessel so that you can transform, become a phoenix, be burned up to ash, right? That's the ash of the alchemical process. We're going to look at it. Yes, we get burned up to ash during Saturn-Pluto cycles of time. There's the potential for that, for a kind of total removal of anything that is the false self. I think a time like this really challenges the false self so that you might transform and evolve and mature and develop certain kinds of wisdom and certain kinds of integration that is possible during times like this. Saturn Pluto is both the fiery crucible and also it is the crystallization of the Philosopher's Stone. Saturn Pluto is both the fiery crucible of the alchemical process, the alpha, and the crystallized Philosopher's Stone at the end of the process, the omega. And so a moment like ours, the last couple years under the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, if you just think back over the last couple of years, can you see how there's been a kind of fiery crucible that has destroyed the false self and brought you into a kind of dragon rider, phoenix consciousness, where ultimately the end result is a crystallization of a philosopher's stone of awareness, wisdom, strength that you carry forth from this moment forward to all your future lifetimes, to all of your parallel lifetimes. The gifts of a philosopher's stone ripple throughout eternity. And so that's what we're talking about. And yes, so what specifically do I want to say? There's this sequence of alignments that have been happening that started in January, when there was a lot of activation of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto by the inner planets. And I want to refer you to a couple videos back where I was looking at the astrological software, and I'll have a link up here and down below, and you can look for that, because you'll see me go through the astrological software kind of month by month up through March, and you'll see these major activations of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto triple conjunction of last year. And going across the Sun and Mercury and Venus and the Moon each month, going across, going back and forth in the case of Mercury. And this is where I particularly want to focus on Mercury. Mercury started to go across the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto triple conjunction back in December. And it conjoined each one, first Pluto, and then Saturn, and then Jupiter, and it went off a bit, and then it went retrograde. It started to appear to go backwards. It's actually when Mercury's getting closest to the Earth. That's what was happening, but it was coming into these conjunction alignments with Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter. And yes, and so because of these multiple swings, it went off and then it came back across them, and now it's sitting right between the two, between Jupiter and Saturn, and Pluto's a ways off a bit. Saturn's like 15 degrees away from Pluto, so that's kind of the latest stage of the alignment, and Jupiter's well off. But Mercury is right between, kind of weaving a thread between the three, one last weaving of the three energies. Mercury is the mind. It has to do with ideas and communication. And it definitely, like with Saturn, Mercury Saturn has to do with mental clarity. And Mercury Jupiter has to do with like really big ideas and big mountaintop perspectives. Mercury has a lot to do with seeing and hearing and perspectives, being able to see from multiple perspectives. And so Mercury helps us see things. Mercury helps us hear things. And so with Saturn, it's a kind of precise clarity of perception and knowledge. And Jupiter, it's like this big expansive perception, big picture ideas. And the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is particularly associated with philosophy and religion and theology and cosmology and higher education, where there's a synthesis of big ideas and training in the mind to be a philosophical thinker. Sometimes that can happen. And so, Yeah, it's something to really consider right now as you're watching this. Mercury's just sitting right on Jupiter. It's this really long Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. It goes back and forth, but for over 32 days, they're within 5 degrees. And I want to encourage you to get out and see it in the morning. It's about an hour before sunrise. I would recommend, if you can, an hour and 15 minutes to maximize it, because the light starts to fade around an hour, 55 minutes, or the light starts to grow in the morning. And so, yeah, to have some extra time to observe it, I would, yeah, set your alarm so that you can get out to a place where you have a clear view of the western horizon, and you will see about an hour and 15 minutes before the sunrise, you'll see Mercury and Jupiter, and then Saturn a little ways away. You'll see Jupiter is usually easy to spot. It's the brightest planet besides Venus and the moon. And the sun, obviously, are all brighter than Jupiter. But because it's so bright, you'll see it quick. If you just sort of look in the direction where the sun is going to rise, you'll spot Jupiter, and then look real close by, and you'll see another light, a little fainter, but still there, Mercury. And then up above Jupiter, about 9 degrees away, is Saturn. And so it'll be really striking. It's a very special thing to be able to observe and have the intimacy of looking at the lights. Gazing upon them is a deepening of intimacy with them. To be able to look at each other and take it all in. You can only see a Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn triple conjunction every 20 years. And so you got an opportunity until March 10th, March 13th, maybe. Yeah, definitely. Even, yeah, I think 13th, 15th, even a little bit further, you'll still be able to see Mercury. But yeah, after that, you're gonna have to wait 20 years. And so, yeah, I think it's worth getting up early. I did it 2 days ago. I'm gonna do it again as much as I can with the weather. But especially, I want to focus on, I believe, yes, March 8th, that's especially 9th, 10th, and 11th. March 9th, 10th, and 11th, that's when the moon will join Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. And so you'll have 4 of the great lights of the sky right next to each other. The moon will be in a crescent as it approaches the new moon when the sun's light obscures it, but in a really beautiful crescent moon, and it'll be right there with Jupiter and Saturn and Mercury. Wow. Yeah. That's one of the alignments that was happening a couple of weeks ago with the 6 planets in Aquarius. Moon was there, Mercury was there, Jupiter and Saturn were there, but it was all happening too close to the sun to be visible. So now Mercury and Jupiter have moved far enough away from the sun, and we can see them. And so this time, March 9th, 10th, 11th, approximately, you'll be able to see this amazing astronomical event. And I'm just praying for good weather. Gosh, I'm really looking forward to it. It was very special to be with it a couple days ago. And I'm so glad I got up. It was, yeah, just, gosh, every time I go out over this last year to be with the sky, to seek guidance under the sky, to seek guidance from the lights of the sky, it has just been one of the huge Philosopher's Stone, Philosopher's Stone touchstone. I feel like the Philosopher's Stone, one of the ways of thinking about it is to think about it as a touchstone, where you crystallize a kind of awareness, a kind of thought form, a piece of wisdom, like the word patience. Sometimes it can take lifetimes to develop really strong patience. And a year like this past one has been a huge one for learning patience. Opportunity to learn to be patient, patient with yourself, patient with your agenda, patient with your plans being delayed. And so, yes, a Philosopher's Stone might be something like that, a takeaway from the year of, wow, I really learned to be more patient with myself and others. But what I was just naming is I'm starting to realize just the gratitude that I feel for all of my experiences of 2020. And you can see some of those videos here on my channel. All of those experiences of being out under the sky and talking to the planets more than I ever have in my whole life, because I needed support. I needed guidance. Things were challenging. And so, yes, I'm not sure how I'm going to really synthesize how I want to name the Philosopher's Stone. Well, maybe I could come up with a name for my Philosopher's Stone, and I think you can have multiple Philosopher's Stones. Depends on how you work with the metaphor. And I'll have other suggestions later, but in this moment, it's like, yeah, I just like the idea of touchstones of wisdom and knowledge and new mastery. And so, yeah, I think I would name this one just spend more time under the sky, looking at the sky, looking at the planets, calling out to the planets while I look at them. Just do more of that. I think that's one of my touchstones because, gosh, it was so helpful this year. And I'm so grateful to all of you for, yeah, checking out my videos, because it kind of motivated me to make some and put them out there. And so, yeah, it's that's one of my Philosopher's stones, and you can have it as well. Spend more time looking at the sky. That's one. There's some others that are really important to me that maybe I'll share later. But let me close with this because I'm kind of naturally doing it here. And it's just a suggestion for you guys, a kind of ritual practice for integration of your own personal Philosopher's Stone. And I would recommend doing this process in conjunction with looking at the conjunctions of the planets, the conjunctions of Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, and with the moon. I'll have some details down below of the dates and whatnot. I'll get it all written out clearly. But yeah, I think those dates I've been sharing with you are the particularly good ones for going out and looking at this. I would say if you can go out multiple times, that would be awesome. I'm going to try to go out a few times. But definitely the 9th, 10th, and 11th to see that crescent moon. And yeah, there's another alignment right after that. The sun with the moon at the new moon with Venus and Neptune. A quadruple conjunction, sun, moon, Venus, Neptune. That's what I call the heart chakra super portal. It's a heart chakra super portal. That's what that is. And so I'll talk about that in another video, but I think it's good to know that that whole week of March 9th through the 14th really is a particularly good week for ritual practice, for integration practice, for being out in nature, under the sky. Really good week to be focusing on. And so here's the ritual I would suggest. And I kind of just did part of it, but the idea is, yeah, Mercury's involved. So it has to do with kind of coming up with a thought form, writing it out, saying it out loud, communicating it clearly to yourself and perhaps to others. And like I said, with Jupiter brings this kind of big picture way of thinking, and also, by the way, has to do with higher moral values. And I think that's one aspect of the Philosopher's Stone, is definitely related to higher moral values. How do you live in integrity with your higher moral values? And so anyway, yes, Mercury will help you to journal, I think is a good place to start, to be kind of journaling about your experience of like, what have you learned from the last year? How have you kind of crystallized new awareness and wisdom that You just feel like there's an end of an age in your life and it's a new beginning where you're going to be more in integrity with your philosophy of life, and where it's kind of easy to not do the same old shit anymore, but to actually anchor into what you've earned over many lifetimes, that you can be authentic and you can live from a moral code and be successful and happy on this journey. And so, yes, I would suggest journaling. Maybe after you look at the alignment, the sun will rise, be with the sunrise, notice your feelings, notice the thoughts that come as you're looking at it, and then go someplace, or maybe right there, take out your journal and start to write some key ideas of your learnings and lessons of the last year. And I'm going to suggest trying to crystallize 3 main lessons, 3 aspects of your new wisdom and your new strength and your new authenticity, and journal about those 3. Start to kind of distill them. You want to ultimately kind of whittle it down to first a paragraph of description of each, and then 1 or 2 sentences, and maybe ultimately you come down to 1 or 2 words that are the key words that help you anchor your crystallized Philosopher's Stone. And so, yeah, take the time you need to crystallize a couple sentences and then a few words, and then find 3 crystals, 3 small stones that you really love, that you have some kind of intimacy with. Take them with you for your ritual, and with each of your really clarified, distilled, precise thought forms that are your moral guiding stars, hold the idea, the words, right at your third eye. Hold them right at your third eye and focus your intention there. Just like you're really focusing and clarifying and coming into a kind of power place. And I think saying your Philosopher's Stone idea out loud with some kind of power could be helpful while you take your crystal that is going to be connected to each of your thought forms, and you bring it up to where you're focusing your awareness, and you say it out loud, and you just imagine sending the idea into the crystal, and the crystal welcomes the idea. It invites the idea. It wants to collaborate with you to help anchor it and always remember it and always live true to it. And you trust that. You feel love and gratitude to your stone for helping you to remember, and you just send it in. And you feel the stone saying, don't worry, I'm going to help you remember. I'm so on it. I'm so devoted to helping you remember your thought form. Your Philosopher's Stone is safe with me. It says something like that, or you make up your own thing, and you do that. You repeat it with each of them, and then you do some kind of awesome ritual with some incense and some rattles and some drums or bells or whatever. Get together your medicine bag of support, and you end up putting those 3 stones in your medicine bag of your sacred objects and your power objects and all that. And then you just put it someplace that you love, or you carry it with you, and there you have it. It's going to be a lot easier for you to remember, but really this process that I'm talking about is going to be lasting all year. That's why 2021 is the year of the Philosopher's Stone. As you integrate what you've learned and how you've grown on a soul's level, as you do that, your Philosopher's Stones are going to come to you. Maybe it'll ultimately be one Philosopher's Stone. This is a different way of thinking about it, that the Philosopher's Stone is like your total crystalline essence. And when you're in alignment with it, in integrity with it, you're in this place of power and ease and love and relaxation and trust and patience. And yes, so stay tuned. I've got more to say about this Philosopher's Stone hyper portal we're traveling in. I've got more to say, but I think this is a good introduction for the theme of this year. And I'd love to hear any response that you have to any of this, to how you relate to this theme, how you're integrating the theme of last year, the Dragon Rider theme. Love to hear how you've become really strong, amazing dragon riders, and how your dragon riding has led you to your Philosopher stones and will continue to lead you towards them. Okay, everybody, this has been quite a ride tonight. It's become nighttime over the course of the recording. And yes, thank you, blessings, love, light, peace. Amen.